participating in his interview or any other part of this process.
I have no problem if he continues. I don't think that's a conflict. I mean, I don't know if any of you are aware, the governor used to do like a training for the JNC when we went to Orlando, and it seemed like there's no rules on conflicts, what they said, but they pretty much said, if you're not blood related or like the law partner, somewhere you have a direct financial interest, then, so I don't think this would count. I'd have no problem with Mark sitting in on it.
Well, they have a direct financial relationship, but
With his family.
Right. Well, with his,
if
he
he's
does
his
his
account.
taxes.
But that doesn't change whether
That's
he's in
pretty
private
minor.
practice. I mean, I guess,
No.
to me, Mark, if you feel comfortable, it's your call.
I got to go out and go here traveling, basically.
Mark, do you feel comfortable being involved?
I'm comfortable. I just couldn't, I want full disclosure for y'all that I'm partners with this guy's dad in the real estate rental firm. And I actually do this, I do Bobby's return too. I want full disclosure for everybody.
Well, we appreciate that full disclosure, Mark, very much. The sense is that, I think, that it does not rise to any formal, no basis for disqualification, and so if you're willing to participate, we would like you to continue.
Well, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'll just make my comments during our deliberations.
All right, thank you.
So there would be no financial gain in
No financial.
their financial gains.
I was saying, you have this financial.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. My name's Terry White, I'm the chairperson. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking the time to fill out the application. It is a arduous process, and so I appreciate that. I want to ask you a very broad question, but I had the obligation to vet you.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you that in Putnam County, it does not appear that anyone knows Robert William Pickens III. They all seem to know Bobby Pickens.
Yes, sir.
So with that, I found out a little more information. So why do you think, when it all comes down to it, the governor got to figure out who it is? What is it that suggests that it really shouldn't be?
I think there's a multitude of reasons. The main reason I think I was born and raised in Putnam County. I graduated from Crescent City High School back in 2010. I went on to St. John's River State College in Palatka for a semester. About halfway through that semester, I realized how much I missed playing sports. I went and transferred to Jacksonville University, had the opportunity to play football there. Went on to law school at Florida Coastal School of Law. Then I was one of those people that wanted a job before I even sat for the bar exam. I got a job offer down in the 5th Judicial Circuit. It was in Citrus County for about 6-7 months, and then Mr. Barizza gave me the opportunity to come back to here to Flagler County for a year, and then moved over to Putnam County for 2 years. So I'm really invested in the community. I love Putnam County. I grew up there. I work with the people. I know the people. I feel that the people of Putnam County have had a big impact on my life. I don't think that I would even have the opportunity to stand here before you today if it weren't for some of the teachers, some of the people that I've met in my professional life that have guided me to even be in a position like this. So I think that I'm really invested. I think that I would be electable in Putnam County and all of those types of things. So that's why I think that I would be, why I'm the best pick to be the next county judge in Putnam County.
Pickens, or
Yes, ma'am.
so if the knock on you is, he's a little young, what would your response be?
You know, I think that's a fair question, but I think that I have done as much as I could in the past 5 years. Well, it's been a little over 5 years. September was 5 years. I've been a prosecutor from misdemeanor all the way up to punishable by life in prison felonies. I've been a criminal defense attorney. I've done civil litigation on both the plaintiff and the defense side, mortgage foreclosures, debt collection. I currently serve as the town attorney for 2 different municipalities, which is an experience in itself, the town of Pomona Park and the city of Crescent City. So I know that I only have those 5 years of experience, but I feel like it's more the quality of the experience than the quantity. And also I think that my youth could be used as a flip side to that, is if I were lucky enough to get through the JNC and honored enough to be appointed by the governor, that I could serve Putnam County for, say, the next 30 years. So I think that my youth could be a strong asset as well.
Is it your goal to progress past the county court? You know, some people say, I want to, I have a goal of being on the DCA, so I'm going to start in county court, circuit, DCA, or is it county where you want to be?
So if I answer that question right now, standing here, yes, I would say that I want to be a county judge, and that's all I ever want to be. But I know that our goals and ambitions change as we move throughout life. So I don't want to sit here and say, no, I would never want to be a circuit judge, but sitting right here, right now, my dream job would be county judge in Putnam County, nowhere else. So right now, Putnam County judge.
Did you practice in front of Judge Boatwright and Judge Miller, or just Judge Boatwright?
Just Judge Boatwright.
Any civil experience?
Yes. I mean, I'd probably do more civil work now than criminal work. Mortgage foreclosures, do a lot of circuit work, quiet titles, stuff like that. I've done everything from small claims where there wasn't even an attorney on the other side and they were fighting over $500 at a tire shop, up to right now I have a mortgage foreclosure that it's almost $500,000. So I think as far as on the civil side, over the last 2 years, I've got a ton of experience. I've done a little bit of family law. I didn't necessarily like it as much, and we have somebody that's much better in our office to do this type of thing, so she's kind of taking that back over. But I still do the injunction aspect of the family law cases, but I just don't really handle the divorces and stuff like that anymore.
What about landlord-tenant?
Yes, I do a ton of unlawful detainers, as well as evictions. I have never defended an eviction. I've only been on the plaintiff side, but unlawful detainers, I've been on the defendant side as well as the plaintiff side.
What judge have you practiced in front of or been around that you kind of would want to model yourself after?
I probably have 2. I would say Judge Disler here in Flagler County. She was really the main one that I was in front of when I was over here. Got a bunch of trial experience in front of her. But also liked Judge Boatwright's efficiency in court. I thought he was very efficient, allowing attorneys to still use Zoom. I think that was a big thing because there's private attorneys that are having to travel all over the place. I think it's just one little thing that you can take off of their plate. And also, I really liked how he had like a 10-minute period that you were to appear, and so you're not sitting there in a cattle call waiting in court for an hour or 2. So I would say those are the 2 judges.
If you're selected, would you operate the courtroom the same way as Judge Boatwright? As far as the Zoom 10-minute hearings, I think Judge Disler does the same thing.
Yeah, I definitely would do that. I, as a practitioner, like being in the courtroom when there's like evidentiary hearings and stuff going on. So obviously, if both attorneys agreed, I would be fine with it. But I would prefer like evidentiary stuff, but pre-trials, stuff like that, obviously, I think that it makes the best use of time for the judge and the attorneys and the defendants to have that Zoom where they know for these 10 minutes we're going to be in court versus 1:30 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
So many people who appear in county court appear now unrepresented. It may be more than 50%. Have you thought about how you would address those special needs of pro se litigants and keep the cases moving without crossing the line into advocacy?
Yes, ma'am. And I've had the opportunity to be on some cases where the other side was, actually in my application, I think most of the cases that went to trial, the other side was unrepresented. I think it's obviously a lot different. I think the judge can guide make sure that due process is followed and all that stuff, but like you said, there has to be a point where you expect the legal process to be followed by that person. I think you can guide them, and I think even when they're doing stuff wrong, there's a fine line between telling them what needs to be done and then being disrespectful and rude to them. I think you can get the same point across by kind of being a lot more thoughtful and kind to them rather than try to embarrass them, because they really don't know. Obviously, we went to school for at least 3 years to learn this stuff, so we can't expect for them to know everything, but I do think that you have to require them to follow the necessary procedures when the case is progressing through the system.
When you say guide them, what do you mean?
Maybe as far as, I guess I'd take that back because you're not really going to guide them at all. Maybe just with, as far as procedure in the courtroom and that type of stuff, make sure they're given time to prepare, stuff like that. But in the end, they're going to have to figure it out on their own as far as the legal processes, what needs to be done, objections and stuff like that. I don't think the judge should step in and kind of object for them or interject when things shouldn't be happening. Obviously, they're not going to know a lot of hearsay and stuff like that. So I do think the judge has to be a referee. They can't reach out and help on the side, even if they're unrepresented. But I do think that it can be done in a respectful way where they don't feel belittled or disrespected because they don't have the same education that we do.
Thank you.
Just got a little follow-up on that. If you, as the judge, hear something that you know is full bore hearsay, I mean, there's just no way, no how, okay? It's come in, it's in evidence, it hasn't been objected to. What goes, how is that factored in your ultimate analysis or determination of what's going to happen? If it's a non-jury case, jury case on the story.
I mean, I think obviously if it's heard, it'd be hard to ignore it, but I think when you're following the process and coming to a ruling, even if hearsay did come in and was unobjected to, that should be the basis for your ruling. I think there needs to be a little more than hearsay, even if that's something that we're allowed in. So I don't think the ruling should be based off of it. The only thing for the plaintiff or the defendant was hearsay evidence, and I wouldn't think you should rule just based on something that should have been inadmissible, but for the person not knowing that it was inadmissible.
All right, absent any desire to tell us anything else that you think you want to make sure, you came here and said, gosh, I hope they ask me this. You know, is there anything that's there that fits in that category for you?
No, I will be honest, I had a whole thing prepared to say, but
Well,
when you asked me
please.
the question. No, it's fine. It's, so this is what, and I've talked to multiple people, one of the main reasons that I want to be a judge is because I feel like, and I feel like I can say this because I'm a younger attorney, and I think younger attorneys are the ones that are responsible for this, but I feel like some of the traditions in our profession are kind of getting watered down. And what I mean by that is attorneys arguing seated at counsel's table, kind of treating people with litigants with disrespect, or other attorneys, not all over the place, but I see it happening. And I was a history major in college, so that's one of the things that brought me to, or made me want to pursue a career in the legal field, was all the histories, I mean, things that we've been doing for 200, 300 years. And I do think that the judge, although they can't force people to do stuff, I think the judge can create an atmosphere where that's respected and everybody knows that that's going to be required. So that's one of the things. I know it's weird, but that's just something that I noticed as a practicing attorney, little things like that. So I'll put that in there.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Having practiced for 40 years, I know exactly what you're talking about.
When I know, I feel like because I think a lot of the younger, and I know COVID had a lot to do with it, where people were arguing from home and stuff like that. So it just kind of, it's weird. Sometimes even judges, when you stand up, say, "No, you don't have to stand up," and I'm like, "But I want to."
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks for taking the time.